see the lights are on.
All set, yeah.
All right. All right. Time being 7 o'clock, I call to order the August 8th Franklin School Committee meeting. Meetings are recorded by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29, as well as recorded by Franklin Matters. Any individual who also wishes to record this meeting must notify the chair in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F. At the conclusion of our meeting, we will be adjourning to executive session and will be returning to open meeting. All right, first, we're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As is customary, we will now pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, routine business, review of agenda. Agenda looks okay to everyone. Okay. Payment of bills, Mr. McNeil.
Bills are in order.
All right, payroll's all set. We have no student reps. Superintendent's report, Mr. Jagir.
Good evening, everyone. It's August 8th. I have some exciting updates to share with folks today out in the community and the person who's on Zoom. Our FHS Leadership Retreat commenced last week. I referenced this last meeting that we would be conducting it. We gathered with our principals. This year we added our assistant principals for all 3 days and our directors and central office leadership to build upon the momentum from the June pre-treat. Our theme centered around finding focus by turning our district initiatives and level-based goals into actionable, meaningful plans. During the retreat, we also participated in professional learning facilitated by Katie Novak from Novak Education, focused on, as I said, universal design for learning, but ultimately with a lens on, as an administrator, how we can be facilitating that and modeling that throughout the year as well. We also continued with our summer working groups on a variety of initiatives, everything from school safety to rolling out our Panorama platform, which you heard us reference last year, to continue that work, SEL and student discipline with handbooks specifically. This groundwork will pave the way for future school-based endeavors, and our entire leadership team contributed, and it was great to have the entire team there, including our assistant principals, as part of that work and shared learning. I just would share this again. We conducted this retreat and continue to plan, but I wanted to just share that as the budget concluded in June, it certainly puts a sense of urgency in us getting things hired, getting people hired, settling our budget, and really fielding the team that we have. So the amount of planning that we put forth, I want to just commend the administrative team for coming together this summer to not only fill positions and continue to work on developing relevant school-based goals, but ultimately to help with the overall planning of how we will approach this year so that we're prepared to welcome students back. With that in mind, our high school experience started today. It was kicked off at Franklin High School, and our freshmen we're off to an inspiring start to the year. It's a 2-day experience for kids that will occur tomorrow as well for our incoming freshman class. So you have 3 middle schools that come together to form one high school class at Franklin High. They foster connections as a community. They acquaint themselves with the building and also just establish relationships with students and staff and some of our student leaders who show up in the summer to help facilitate and lead groups, which is an excellent thing. I wanted to thank our co-directors, Ms. Kristen Smith, Ms. Shannon Pachillo, and Ms. Miriam Conley for their work to plan and put forth a really meaningful orientation for students. And there was a large number. I don't have that number, but there was a large representative of the class of 2027 there, which was great. On August 2nd, the Joint Budget Subcommittee met and held a meeting in this particular room. The Joint Budget Subcommittee consists of members from our FinCom, our school committee, and our town council. During the meeting, the town administrator presented the latest 5-year fiscal forecast for FY25 through FY29. And the purposes of the forecast was to provide a starting point for strategic budget development and continued discussion. The town administrator discussed revenue and expense assumptions, what was not included in the model that he developed and put forth, and made recommendations moving forward. And the committee is planning future meetings this fall The meeting was recorded by Franklin TV as well at that time. Just as we embark on our school-based budget development process, we aim to provide a snapshot of where we are in FY24, this current year. As hiring continues to happen, that's an evolving picture. We anticipate we will provide a projection based on FY25 anticipated projections and revenues, a status update on our revolving accounts. As you know, we depleted many of those accounts in the spring, and model out a budget that's responsive to the override conversations with amounts and details as we move forward. This is all a tremendous amount of work, but our team is working hard to provide that information to the school committee as well as the community as we continue to work through these processes. With regard to staffing, as we gear up for the new school year, we're excited to welcome our new teachers at our upcoming new teacher orientation. It's scheduled for August 22nd through the 24th. The first day, our valued newly hired staff members will participate in some professional development from topics around UDL. I will greet them and open with some work around belonging and trying to set the stage and tone for the year and welcome our new hires to the Franklin community. We also have student services that will provide an update, HR, and a few other pieces around onboarding and orientation for new staff, but we've really been thoughtful every year. The Office of Teaching and Learning will provide training and some pre-foundational work on the UDL and MTSS work that's occurred in the district so that folks entering our buildings have a baseline of information. So as we think about all those pieces, we're excited to bring staff aboard. It's a good segue into the next piece around staffing and hiring. Our HR director, Ken Storlazzi, prepared a staffing update. We continue to hire for our open positions. So far, we have hired approximately, it looks as though, over 31 people. That's due to some of the positions we had open, but resignations have occurred throughout the summer as well, and there's been movement throughout the district and across many districts. Currently, we have 8 teaching positions open. We have 6 in special education. There's 1 middle school grade 6 science position, and science/math, and 1 FHS position. There is a recommendation in the queue, though, for a finalist that emerged from a recent interview round. We have multiple ESP positions open, which are like our educational support personnel. Approximately, looks like 16 at this point across all levels, fairly dispersed evenly. As far as administrators go, we have an offer to a finalist for one of our AP positions at our elementary school. We have interviews currently happening at the high school for one of our AP positions. And we're in the reference check stage with an assistant school business manager at this time as those interviews have occurred this week. And as far as open positions for non-union, we have 6 non-union positions, such as our applied behavioral analyst positions, tutors, activity monitors, interventionists. There's 6 openings currently within the district. Finally, I would just key in on some of our school dates that we have coming forward. The first day of school for students is August 30th. The first day of kindergarten is August 31st. And the first day for pre-K is September 5th. Staff will join us on August 28th for an opening day, followed by the 29th, which will be a professional development day. And we look forward to a productive August as we continue to work on preparing for students and staff at the end of August and into September. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Yeah, just one question. So thanks for the update, obviously. Definitely some good information, and glad that the team is coming together in prep for the school year. You mentioned the Panorama rollout. Do we have an agenda item for that to talk through, like what that's going to look like, and just kind of get folks up to date on that?
It's a great question. So we worked in the retreat on level-based school improvement plans, and you'll notice in there we have some action steps related to some of these pieces. So we will have a rollout for Panorama, and it will list the steps that we intend to take this year. One thing that we focused on, the theme was focus, but we've really tried to dive into how far did we get with the goals that we set forth last year. and tried to be as reasonable and actionable for the year so that what we share, we intend to accomplish and report out on by the end of the year. Every cycle that we do this, we try to refine this process and put forth our authentic plans that reflect what we're setting out to do. So you'll notice this year, some things will be rolled out in multiple phases because we can only take chunks at a time to complete, given the time we have and the bandwidth we have to make this happen. So it's a great question, and you can expect more detail.
Gotcha, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. Moving right along, guest presentations.
Okay, first up is you have the annual report drafted. You will notice that there was an addendum Ms. Miller sent out that had my foreword for the district and just set the stage for our school and our school year, and for the purposes of a report. I did try to touch upon kind of the state of schools and where we're at and what we'd like to do moving forward. I'm happy to answer any questions with regard to the report. You will notice it also included information from each school with some of the demographic data that typically goes into this report. This is an annual function in August.
I did just want to say, there is one little swap I have to make on my little blurb, but
Okay.
I'll send it to Dee, and she can,
Perfect.
I have to switch SWAC and Substance Abuse Task Force, just really quick,
Got it.
2
Okay.
seconds, so I'll send that to Dee. Does anyone else have any questions, Colin? Nope, all right. Summer curriculum review.
All right, so moving along. I will, you'll communicate with Dee?
Yes.
On this, perfect. And then we can submit this to the town. The deadline's next week, so we have time to get this in. I think it's August 15th.
I'll do it right at the end of the meeting.
Perfect. All right, so I'm pleased to welcome Mrs. Morano, our Assistant Superintendent of Student Services. She's joined by Dr. Tim Frazier, Mr. Eric Stark, respectively Directors for Humanities and for STEM. Also, our Director of Lifelong Learning, Patty Gay, is joining them as well. They represent directors and leaders who are overseeing the summer opportunities that we have for students across the district in a myriad of ways. And I'll kick it over to Mrs. Morano to continue.
All right, thank you, Mr. Giguere. All right, so we're excited to present our annual summer learning and summer working groups presentation to give the school committee and the folks out in the community an update on what we've been doing this summer. So we'll start with our summer learning groups. Learning programs. We had 3 programs going on this summer in the district. The first one was the extended school year program. Then we have lifelong learning that Ms. Gay will talk about, and then our most popular FHS athletic strength and conditioning program. So extended school year, as you know, extended school year is for students with disabilities where their special ed team recommends students for this program. It is recommended for students in which the data shows that the students will regress over long breaks of services. So obviously we don't want students to regress more than any neurotypical student would regress, so we prescribe based on the data the amount of summer programming that they'll need to keep their learning at a stable level. So this year our program ran from July 6th to August 10th. It was a Monday through Thursday program. It was at ECDC as well as Remington Jefferson this year and at the high school. So we had a variety of curriculum programs that were recommended depending on the students' needs and data in ELA, math, specialized reading, social pragmatics, related services, so that's speech, OT, and PT, as well as all of our students in specialized programs, and like I said, at ECDC. So over 296 students were recommended, slightly higher than previous years, but no surprise given COVID and everything that's been going on the last couple of years, and approximately 228 students attended. My highlight, I did spend quite a bit of time at the beginning of ESY at ECDC, and my highlight, as you see in the bottom left corner, is the Unalama. So on Thursdays was the most favorite day of the week at ECDC, which was the water play day. And one of our great teachers found this Unalama on Amazon, and basically it's the water comes out, you hook it up to the hose, the water comes out the spout of the unicorn, and the kids play around in it and have some great water play fun. So it was so fun, and just, yeah, everyone enjoyed every bit of it. So great time.
Right, these are the lifelong learning programs that happen this summer. Solution Summer Adventure, which is our 5-week full-day program. STAR and Ready Set Kindergarten, which concluded last week. We had Summer STEM, Summer Music, and we also do private music lessons in the summer as well. We had Summer Art, High School Experience, which started today and is also tomorrow, and that was 199 students.
Thanks, Patty.
So, yeah, that was, it was bustling. They came in before the rain started, which was awesome. And the rain ended by the time they left, so that was very good. We also offer some college prep courses, writing a college essay, as well as Common App boot camp, and that wraps up this week as well. And then we do offer some community learning over the summer as well. We do basketball, badminton, yoga, and we also did some self-defense classes as well. So just some highlights from our program. We did a lot of gardening this summer. The second picture is our Entrepreneur Week, and they were developing restaurant menus and food and having a ball with it. The next slide is the Math Academy, which did an arcade format of the show at the end of the 2 weeks, which parents were invited to, and everybody had a lot of fun. The next picture on the top of the big water slide is we do a water slide Wednesday. We did 3 of them this summer, which were very popular. And Mr. Hendrickson is photographed in that picture there. A little too tempting to be right outside the building without participating. The bottom left is our Glee from our summer music program. We also have some arts, some clay in that following picture, and then we have some American Girl dolls hanging out with their counterpart humans.
In the summer athletics program, we had our most popular strength and conditioning classes or sessions, I would say. Those run from July through August, Monday through Thursday. 385 students participated. The highlight of this program is students have a great positive experiences. They have new personal bests that they're making, so they're really meeting goals and beyond, and going past their goals. And they have been fully committed to the program. The summer strength and conditioning coaches, we can't thank them enough. They have done a tremendous job developing this curriculum and planning for these sessions. The coaches work extremely hard to plan the program. They're innovative, motivating, and positive role models for our students. And frankly, we don't know any other schools or districts who run such a comprehensive program for health and wellness for their students.
All right, so now Mr. Eric Stark and I have the express privilege of talking about summer working groups, as Superintendent Jagir spoke to earlier. Our theme this summer has been focus, and we've been fortunate to really do that this summer with the work that we are doing to support curriculum here in the district. So there has been a reduction from about $20,000 to $5,000 allocated to summer work, with a funded amount of $2,340 coming also from a grant, for a total of $7,340 going towards summer work this year. In order to focus ourselves and move the work ahead, we identified projects that really deserved and needed that extra support from teachers leading the way and staff leading the way. So we chose projects that were a lot aligned with our goals, as you can see on the right of your screen. We sent out emails to staff with details and had them respond with interest. We accepted teachers to carry the work forward, and the work actually began after July 1st and is currently underway. So the first project we worked through was the K-5 literacy implementation. We've been very fortunate through capital funding and a grant to be able to implement this upcoming year, what we're calling year 0 of our literacy initiative and our adoption of HMHs into reading. So the teachers who worked with us this summer led the way in really sorting the curriculum materials, ensuring that each building had the right materials allocated to them, and worked with myself and their administrators to begin the plan of getting those materials in the hands of the teachers for this school year. The next project.
Yep. On the STEM side, some of our digital learning integrationists developed instructional technology units aligned with the digital literacy and computer science standards to support programming at the elementary level.
Another grant-funded project that we've been partaking in the middle level was the genocide curriculum calibration. We have sought to create crosstalks between the existing standards for social studies and ELA so that teachers can make relevant connections to the curriculum which they are already teaching to explore the component areas that are involved with genocide education. So these are human rights, identity, representation, and so on. So the work this summer was led by our social studies teachers. We had 5 participating in different ways to, in essence, codify and write that curriculum. And their work is very well done, and I'm excited to have the ELA department lead the way this upcoming school year.
In the 9-12 realm, teachers implemented a new chemical storage process at FHS and worked with an outside vendor to dispose of outdated chemicals.
All right. And also on the 9 to 12 at the high school realm, as you know, we've been working hard to create a guaranteed viable curriculum. This summer, we worked with using a protocol designed by Wiggins and McTighe and Understanding by Design for the teachers and curriculum leaders to go through their units to make sure they have the relevant components there and to align the language of the units so that when they are utilized by teachers and by community members, the documents are much more usable. Their work has really resulted in some alignment in the work and identified areas where we can support teachers in the final stages of writing that curriculum. 6 through 12 teachers have also worked collaboratively this summer with administrators to begin the process, or continue the process of their advisory work, and the fruits of which will be piloted in some forms and perfected in others this coming school year.
And then lastly, a group of teachers and administrators are working to revise the district's curriculum accommodation plan. A notable revision to this document is in the formatting. It now will reflect moving forward our commitment to UDL. A district curriculum accommodation plan is a document that outlines the instructional supports that are available to all students to ensure their success within the general education environment. In the coming weeks, this group will work to do a number of things. First, finish a draft to share with teachers and families, develop a rollout plan to support the implementation of this revised document, and then compile resources to help support educators as we start this school year.
And that concludes our sharing of the summer work and summer groups this summer.
All right, thank you. We'll start with Al.
So one, thank you for all the work that's done in the summertime. I think people think summertime is for vacations and teachers are not working, but obviously that's not the case. We have folks that are dedicated to support our students throughout the summer, which is great. So I'm going to jump to the lifelong learning. My boys were fortunate enough to participate in a couple events. They loved it. I think it was the Rising Stars and the music program. They both went in each day happy, wanted to come back, wished it was longer. So it was great. And I feel like from what I saw from parents and families that were going in and out, everybody seems to be enjoying the programs that were offered.
Most definitely.
Yeah, exactly. I guess, how do we grow this even further and offer more? Because, I mean, were there things that we had to cancel because we didn't have enough participation?
Yes, we did, we are enrollment based, so we do have to have enough to make the course run. But we put out proposals in November and ask teachers, who's interested in teaching what over the summer. It sounds so early, and maybe that's why it's hard to visualize in November what your summer's going to look like. But we put that out and take their interests and turn it into courses. And we have some that had, gone well for years, such as like funky furniture, and then all of a sudden it zeroed out. But courses like the American Girl, we had to add a third week this year because it was so popular. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because I definitely think this is a worthwhile.
Yeah, but I'm happy to take suggestions. Yeah, but we put it out, and we are at the mercy of the teachers who want to teach it.
Gotcha.
And we try to look at other communities too and see what they're doing and different course ideas. If you have somebody that wants to teach a class but they're not quite sure what they want to teach it in, we try to offer ideas for them as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, definitely a great program. Looking forward to what comes next year. I know my boys like said we'll be back. Regarding the summer athletics program, is for the conditioning, is that traditionally just for kids that are playing sports, or do we see other kids that are just like, hey, I want to get fit, to come as well?
Absolutely, any student can join.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you. And then moving on to the last item regarding the summer working group. I was I don't know how you can do it with a $15,000 reduction in your budget. I guess how do we see that we need the same amount for next year? How do we get ahead of this so that we ensure that we have the right number requested for the budget, and how do we try to ensure we have funding for it?
Well, as we work through it, this year, our goal is to focus our initiatives really through the lens of one unified approach, which is our UDL approach. So when we're looking at the Office of Teaching and Learning in the summer working groups, our goal is to ensure that the projects we select are hyper-focused and that we're very efficient with the work that we're asking of teachers in their precious time in the summer and of ourselves. And so, as we have a reduction, obviously more funds helps us to ensure that we get more voice into the work. And in the end, that's been the hardest part, is that, incorporating more voice with less funding is more difficult. But as we focus our effort, I do believe that we can continue to be very efficient with whatever funding we end up in. And that comes to just, we need to plan very carefully throughout this year on what work remains for the summer for the following year.
Gotcha, okay. And are there any grants or any other sources that we can kind of look into to see what options are available for funding?
Constantly, constantly. And Mr. Stark and myself, one of the aspects of our role is to constantly be looking at opportunities for expanding the Office of Teaching and Learning's ability to apply for these grants, to qualify. Grant funding requires a lot of work by our teachers and by our building administrators too, and so it's a larger partnership. When we see those grants out there, some of them look very shiny, but we need to qualify, and we also need to sustain the work that comes behind them. So we do apply when it's appropriate, and we try to ensure that it builds on the work that's already being done and moves us forward. So absolutely, we're looking at it, but we're also very cautious to apply for the appropriate grant funding so that we're not sort of creating burden from the application.
Understood. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's it.
Thank you all for this presentation, giving us this update. It's great to see all the offerings that we have, during the summer for students in the community, and now I definitely want a Unilama for
Right?
our school committee meetings to just be over there
We
as
can
our
put it over
mascot.
there on
So
those hot nights.
might make a motion to do that later.
Sure.
But yeah. Yeah, so this was wonderful to see. So a couple questions for the lifelong learning programs, as well as the extended school year. How would we say that these programs supplement and improve upon what the students are learning throughout the school year?
We like to think that what we do is the fun part of the day. So we, what they might not have time to do, I'm trying to phrase this correctly. We like to take the curriculum, take aspects of that and expand upon it in an environment that gives more time to do so. The foiled science experiment, we have time to make sure we get it right. We can take extra time to do those kinds of things. And we do, we do try to align with the frameworks as well and expand upon that and touch upon those as well.
And regarding extended school year, as I said earlier, it's really to make sure that the students with disabilities really maintain their skills and not regress significantly over that break in service. For some of our students, it's just continuing that routine of school. It's a shortened day, but it's still continuing that routine, and that helps them to transition better in the fall back to the regular school day. And, really just making sure that skills are maintained and not regressed. But for some students, spending the time with their families and participating in rec activities is just as rewarding and just as beneficial as well, because it gives them that downtime, but also those practicing of those social skills and able to generalize those skills. So it's that balance. But yes, we definitely see a benefit from it.
Wonderful. No, that's great to hear, and it sounds like it's a great benefit, particularly for, as you mentioned, the students with special needs, to make sure they don't regress and are able to maintain and hit the ground running during the start of the school year. So thank you. And then another question. So for these programs, so over the past, maybe over the course of the past few years, what would you say is the process for receiving feedback from students and updating the course offerings that we have, kind of based on demand that we've been seeing?
As far as lifelong learning goes, when our courses end, we send out an evaluation form so that parents can give feedback. So that's helpful. And we just have parent inquiries too about what kinds of things that we're going to be offering to help them match up at different grade levels, so they can kind of at a glance see what their options are.
And then for extended school year, we typically, get feedback from the teachers that are teaching over the summer to see how the students did and maintain those skills, and also the receiving teachers when the students come back in the fall. And we adapt depending on, it's a very prescribed program based on student needs, so it's hard to make too many changes, but we do, try to maybe make changes of length of time of the session and whatnot, so.
If I could add to that through the chair, just thinking, Patty, and I know I put the plug every year for college essays, but also the Common App, which is standard now. It's industry standard for students as they apply for colleges. But ultimately, those were born out of a few things. Parents wanting to support their children and vocalizing that. Guidance counselors saying, wow, if kids had this opportunity to get some of this squared away in the summer, they could roll into the fall and be less stressed about it. English teachers and a variety of folks that are working with kids around essay development, it was like, wow, well, if we have a group of students who have the time, the means, and the ability to attend a summer session, they can get ahead of this work. So it's almost, I can remember being a part of those discussions live as we were faced with the problem of practice around kids feeling overwhelmed as they get ready to apply for college and have to finish the Common App and get the application and collect recommendations and do all the components. It's a lot of writing on top of probably taking courses that are challenging and have their own amount of writing. So they're born of necessity and need, and I think what's nice is the group up there, and in this example with lifelong learning, they've been responsive to those needs, and I'm interested to see what the next stage is of what else can we offer that helps our families and ultimately our students to be successful.
Thank you for pointing that out. And then just one more question about the working groups, kind of based on something you said, and to piggyback of a question my colleague had. So the reduction in funding for this year in the budget from 20,000 to 5,000 is certainly significant. We definitely appreciate that you try to target and tailor the working group topics that you have as efficiently as possible. And again, to supplement my colleague's question in terms of going forward, were there particular topics or subject areas that were left on the cutting room floor this time around that we weren't able to get to because of the funding?
So this year, the process looked a little bit different. In the past, we've invited educators to express a topic or interest that they would like to participate in for their summer work. And that yielded a lot wider kind of a net of summer work. But this year with the reduction, we decided in our office what the critical work was that we needed to move forward now and put that out there for teachers to express their interest in. So it was a much more narrow focus based on the urgent work that we felt we needed to move forward now. And I think one of our shared goals as an office is thinking about a more long-range plan in terms of curriculum development and thinking about over the course of the years what work is going to have to be done, what can't be done during the year that might need to be done either during summer or stipended outside of school hours type of things. And then that might help to inform more of our advocacy in terms of funding for these types of projects.
Okay, so because of the different focus in terms of how it was developed this time around, you can't necessarily point to something specific. However, it's likely that maybe you would have had a broader scope had you had more funding.
Yeah. So in the past, a teacher might have said, I would like to focus on developing this unit for my grade level. And that would be reviewed and considered. But this year, the focus of curriculum development was, 9 through 12, say. So.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Dave Mandel. Starting it off, Al, and then asking what was left on the cutting room floor, Dave, because that was my question. Because I knew that there's been a lot of summer work in past years, a lot happening, a lot more that the district could do with that extra or that $15,000 that you've had in the past. And I think that's, as we're talking about budget stuff, keeping an eye on things like that, so I absolutely commend you for doing the most you can do with the dollars you're given, and sort of trying to whittle it down a little bit as far as giving more direction to the staff. I think also when we're trying to talk about teacher voice and having more teacher voice, it's it's sort of well, if you're administrators, you're paid all summer, so you're going to take the brunt of more work, and there might be less stipends for teacher work and during the summer, which means, as you sort of had mentioned, that you're trying to include as much teacher voice as you can, but more money would help that happen more. So I think that's just important for all of us to keep in mind. I just want to give a big shout out to the ESY staff for working the summer, because many of them probably have worked with the same kids, families and staff all year, and other people are down the Cape or at home with their feet up, and these guys are working real hard. And so just, lots of respect and kudos to them. And the lifelong learning staff who volunteer and can imagine in November what their summer might look like, or they might imagine, the American Girl doll camp always fills. And I'm so glad and you're so flexible. I feel like we were on the waiting list once, and they're like, well, if we get a couple more, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer, we're not going to be able to do it. And then they call a couple days later, there's more, we're running another week. That was sad to hear about the furniture one, because that was real hot for a while. And the folks who run the strength and conditioning program, which I'm not in that world yet as a parent. I don't have a high schooler yet, but we'll get there. We're just at the Y now. Yeah. And they have a good program too, but I've heard awesome things about the high school program there. So yeah, there's a lot happening behind the scenes in the district, and of course all of you folks working so hard all summer, and hoping you're also getting some rest and some time to rejuvenate also, because that's important. I think I'm always interested in the DCAP. And organizing it by UDL, I feel like that's so consistent, and I think the more, as you talk about so much, Lucas, like trying to work smarter, not harder, and so aligning everything. So if we're always talking about UDL, looking at the DCAP, it's going to be aligned that way. It's just less thinking for the brain. You know what I mean? Everything's going to be so straightforward. I would ask that you continue to update the school committee about the DCAP rollout, because I think that's an amazing product that you'll have, and it can be on a website, it can be printed out, and like so much good work and thought can go into that. And then, like, as we know, sometimes there's steps between what's actually written on paper and like what's happening in every single classroom, and you know, how is like educator evaluation tied to that, and like how are administrators being trained on the new DCAP, or like how are they, you know, making sure that they've got eyes to look at all those components when they're doing their walkthroughs or their observations or whatever. I think that's all just interesting and best practice, and can't wait to see it.
It's like you were in the room when we talked about some of the rollout components.
Okay.
Those are some
I've
of the,
seen, yeah.
you're clearly in
I've seen it
education.
in other places, so, yeah, right.
It's good suggestions.
Thank you for that presentation. I don't have any questions.
The strength and conditioning is not just for high school students, because Noah does it.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
So,
And he loves it.
next summer.
Yeah, loves it. So I had a question about the extended school year. I know it says 296 students were recommended, 228 attended. Was there just like an accessibility or just not an interest?
Sometimes
Like-
it's interest, sometimes parents make choices that their kids need a break for the summer.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, it's different other things. You know, if students need transportation, we're able to provide that transportation if that's a barrier to their access. So we do, you know, talk to parents about that, but most of the time it's parent choice. Just, sometimes kids just need a break.
No, I get it. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't like any accessibility.
No.
Issues, okay. All right, everybody else set? Okay, all right. Thank you guys so very much for coming out on this summer Tuesday evening.
It's a great night for ice cream.
Mhm. I suppose you can all go home and have some ice cream. I usually reserve that for the kids, but. All right, so moving along, discussion action items, none. Discussion only items, none. Information matters. Superintendent evaluation, Elise?
No new updates.
Budget, Dave McNeil?
Budget is not met. However, as Lucas mentioned earlier in the superintendent's report, we did have the meeting of the joint budget subcommittee last Wednesday, where the town administrator went over the fiscal outlook for the next 5 years and discussed the implications for that. And we look forward to the work that is going to continue over the coming months with our collaboration with the town side. And I'm trying to understand what the implications for that outlook are. So, thank you very much. And if anyone did not watch that, I would definitely encourage everyone to, because there's a lot of excellent information, good starting point. I know it's long, I was there the whole time, but it's definitely worth reviewing and listening to, so thank you.
I agree.
Thank you. Yeah, Al?
Question, is there a meeting tomorrow night as well that they'll cover some budget topics, or is it the 16th? What was the next meeting?
The 16th.
So Town Council is having a meeting on the 16th where I believe they're reviewing a lot of the similar information along with some of the legal and ethical parameters of what an override process is going to look like. But I believe some of the same information is also going to be covered, so worth tuning into as well if you can. Cool.
Awesome. Policy, Dave is not here. Community relations, I am going to be reaching out so we can start planning for Harvest Festival. Joint PCC, you guys didn't meet yet?
No, not yet.
No? All right.
We do have our schedule tentatively set for the year, so.
We do.
Yes. that's-
Thank you for that feedback, too.
School Wellness Advisory Council, CPAC,
They have not met.
Mental Health and Wellbeing Task Force, DEI Committee. All right, and then I just wanted to put it out there, I'm going to reach out to Camille and Dave too, because they're on vacation. The Facilities Committee that we put together at the last meeting, if anyone is interested in serving on it, please email me and let me know. All right, that's it. Moving right along, consent agenda, Mr. Jagir.
I recommend approval of the minutes from your July 25th, 2023 meeting as detailed. I recommend declaring the list of books as surplus for ECDC as detailed.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as detailed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, questions? All right, seeing none, vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. good of the order. In the school committee adopted rules and protocols, item 26 states good of the order's purpose is to allow the members to speak about the functioning of the school committee with the intent of improvement. Would anyone have anything they'd like to discuss at this time? I know, it's not even 8 o'clock yet. All right, moving right along. Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens in the audience, in person or online, who would like to make a comment on an item not on tonight's agenda and falls within the committee's purview? All right, anybody online? All right, moving right along. New business, Mr. Jagir?
New business, our next school committee meeting is on August 22nd. At that meeting, you can expect an update on handbooks for your approval. We'll give a new hire update and introduce some of the newly hired administrative staff. Also, clubs and activities and where we stand with approvals for clubs that we anticipate running will also be provided at that meeting. So, among other topics, but those are the ones that stick out.
All right, moving right along, executive session. We will be entering into executive session and will be returning to open meeting to adjourn. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purpose of discussing strategy as it relates to collective bargaining with the Franklin Cafeteria Union, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee as declared by the chair. Is there a motion to enter into executive discussion and return to open meeting as discussed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, vote will come on the motion. Roll call vote. Camille and Dave are absent. Al?
Yes.
Dave McNeil?
Yes.
Elise Stokes?
Yes.
Megan Whitmore?
Yes.
Denise Spencer, yes. All right, let's head into executive session.
Thank you, everyone.
You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio.
call back to order the August 8th Franklin School Committee meeting. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Jagir.
Okay, just wanted to tee up the conversation for a vote by the school committee in support of a memorandum of understanding between the school committee and the Cafeteria Association, as discussed.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Vote will come on the motion. Al?
Yes.
Dave McNeil?
Yes.
Elise Stokes?
Yes.
Megan Whitmore?
Yes.
Denise Spencer, yes. All right. Motion approved. All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, vote will come on the motion. Roll call, vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Meeting is adjourned. See you in 2 weeks.